Hi, this is Randy Kirk, and I want to talk to you today about the market. I want to talk to you about the market as it relates to Tesla. I want to talk to you about the CPI report. I want to talk to you about me. Why do I think I have any kind of a special ability to talk to you about any of this? I have been an investor in West Los Angeles and Los Angeles-based real estate for 48 years. I've also written a book on recessions. Actually, I wrote a second book on recessions, but for some reason, it turned out I couldn't upload it. I don't know what happened. But anyway, written a book on recessions. I study them very deeply. I'm very interested in recessions. As a business owner, as a distributor and manufacturer for most of my career, and an importer exporter, I was very interested in all of the vagaries of world and localized recessions, industry recessions, regional recessions, national and international. So I have a lot of interest in that area, and I've studied it a lot. And the CPI today gave me hope. So that's why I'm doing this video. I wanted to kind of go back over a couple of, if you watch me all the time, then you know that I just talked about this a little bit last week, but the CPI coming out causes me to have a few more things to say. I am not a big fan of Ask Kevin. Sometimes I think that he does things pretty well, and sometimes I don't. He's obviously made a lot more money in his life than I have, and he's a lot younger and better looking. Anyway, but typically, I feel like he's always overstating the swings. And right now he's saying, oh, real estate is still in for a huge crash. I'm having a very hard time finding the huge potential crash in real estate. I've also studied the real estate market very heavily for the last 15 years because a lot of my clients, my marketing clients, have been in the real estate business. I've written 2 books over the last 15 years, one how to buy a house in Los Angeles and one on how to sell a house for my clients and as a ghostwriter. And so I've studied the specifics of the markets in various areas and what are the major things that create the reasons for upswings and downswings, et cetera, et cetera. And let's face it, housing is like anything else. Supply and demand are the big issues. And right now, what you have is no supply. Old people are not selling like me. Not only have I not sold my primary residence, but I have not sold to additional residences, and I'm renting them out. There's a lot of people in my situation. A lot of my friends have secondary properties that they're renting out. The people are not moving like they used to move. 40 years ago, people were moving every 5 years. Now people move every 12 or 13 years, I think is the stat. So people aren't moving as often. There are no buildings. Nobody's building. The number of units being built for both purchase and for rentals is at very low numbers because the builders are just afraid to get in the market when we've had for the last 15 years. We've not had, we've not had a really solid ground under which to build. Between the 2008 debacle and everything that's happened in between, the builders have just been on the sidelines, not really excited about getting back in. And as a result, we do not have enough housing units to manage the population that we currently have. Now that results in people sharing, more people living with somebody that they wouldn't necessarily live with otherwise, maybe with their parents, maybe their parents have come to live with them if they're older. So there's a lot of shared units that may not be shared if the economy got strong. People would start to look for their own place if their pocketbook could afford it. So where are the units going to come from if the economy does get strong? The units aren't there now. If you want to go out right now in a quasi-recession, everybody says it might be, it might not be. Maybe it's going to be in a situation where interest rates have gone up so crazy in the last 6, 8, 10 months. If you want to go out and buy a house now, you're still not going out and getting a big set of choices to purchase, and you're also not getting big discounts off of those best locations, the ones that you would most want to have. So I'm going to make the claim that Ask Kevin is incorrect. We will not see a dramatic downturn. I remember in 2005, 2006, my West LA house was worth just over $1 million. And I'm thinking, it's not worth over $1 million. And I'm looking at the whole derivative thing. I wrote a blog at the time and said the derivative thing is nuts and there's going to be a collapse. And my prayer was that my house, my $1 million house, would only go down to 700,000. That was I literally said to people, I hope the house doesn't go down under 700,000. It went down to under 500,000. That kind of drop that we saw in 2008, 2009, we're not going to be going there again. We've had other drops like that in the Los Angeles market, some other markets around the country, Las Vegas and Florida and other places where we've had recessionary or other kinds of circumstances. 2000, the bursting bubble, even the 1991. So it is possible for homes to go in half like that, but we're not going to be there this time, and we're not going to see a big drop in rents. So why am I excited? The rental prices are not going to come down, and housing prices aren't going to come down that much. Why do I think that the Fed might ease up? Well, the overall market is telling us that the Fed is going to ease up. Right now, people are expecting 25 basis points on Feb 1. The bond market went down today as a result of the CPI that came out today. The bond market is saying that we're going to be back to 0 to 2% inflation much sooner than the Fed thinks. And they are just not playing ball with the Fed. The bond market is what determines basically what you pay for a mortgage. So a certain percentage over the bond rate is usually what you're going to be paying for a mortgage. And so that's why you're seeing mortgages coming down. Not to where you'd like them to be again, to where you'd want to go out and get one if you don't need one. But man, they're not continuing up, which is what the Fed, I think, hopes. The other thing is that most of the rest of the increases are in foods. And as I said in the video last week, there's nothing the Fed's going to do to get people to buy less food. I mean, sure, you might change the food you buy, and you might buy fewer non-food items, but non-foods is not where the problem is right now. Food and clothing is interesting. That clothing is up, and I'm not 100% sure. I haven't dug into the numbers enough to see why clothing is up. Some services, and I see this in particular, the airline flights are down, but hotels are up. So what's going on there? I think people are going to continue to travel. I haven't talked to any of my friends who are calling off their plans. So I think travel is still going to be pretty big, even if we have a rougher landing this year. So I've gotten a little bit enthusiastic. Oh, and labor. Okay, we got to talk about labor. So the labor market is being affected hugely by two things. Much lower immigration, believe it or not. I know the whole thing with the border and whatnot, but that's not all the immigration. The immigration is folks that are coming in legally under various plans, and they're not coming in as much. It doesn't matter what the government does or says right now. There's not as great a draw. I mean, we've got all kinds of places around the world that are getting pretty prosperous now. And then you have the folks that are coming across the border. I think that that's going to continue under this current administration. They're not going to be doing anything to slow that down, but it's still not, as a percentage of the overall situation, it's not as big. We aren't making enough babies. We weren't making enough babies 20 years ago. We're not making enough babies now. So the incoming labor coming from our reproduction here in the United States, it's just not enough to fill the jobs. And then the major cohort, men between the ages of 25 and 55, are currently employed at a number less as a percentage of the total employment. I mean, the total population of those people, it's at less than in 1940, the last year of the long, long depression before we got into World War II and things started picking up. So young men in particular, are not working. They're not going to college, and they're not working. They're in their mom's basement playing video games. I'm sorry, I don't want to insult anybody. They're not working. They're on unemployment. They are not educating themselves, and they're not working. And it's a big problem. It's a problem that is my wife is a university professor. 70% of her school is female. It's true across the board, the professions, everywhere else. The colleges are filled with women, which is great, no problem. Don't mind that we have lots and lots of women getting educated, but what's happening to the young men? This is not good. So we don't have enough people coming into the labor force. The Fed is trying to get us up from 3.5 to 5.5. It's not going to happen. There's just no way. I mean, it was only a few weeks ago, I want to say 60 days ago, Things haven't changed very much in 60 days. 60 days ago, I saw a sign spinner out in front of a retail store. It wasn't the sign spinner wasn't trying to get folks in to buy something. It was advertising for people to come to work. So we continue to have this shortage of people to work. So the recession, this recession, whatever it's called, whatever's happening right now, it is unlike any recession in my lifetime, and I'm really old, that I've studied. And I think now that if the Fed does only go down 25 basis points or even less, and then doesn't go up at all the rest of the year, I think maybe we could get that soft landing. How does that affect Tesla? Well, if we get a soft landing, that means that folks are going to get their confidence is going to go up. If their confidence goes up, they're going to be more likely to take a risk on going out and buying that new car. If interest rates don't continue to go up and even come down a little bit, because the overall market is demanding better interest rates, I think people will go out and buy that car. So good news. I'm optimistic today. I know a few weeks ago I was like, oh, this Fed looks like it's going to continue till they get to 5.5 or who knows how high. Right now, my opinion has changed. What's happened with your opinion? If you've liked this kind of content, do all the things you're supposed to do, like it and subscribe and all that. Jump on the Patreon channel. Man, we got, getting new folks every single day coming on the Patreon channel, where we're going to talk about the future. If you are a futurist, if you see yourself as a futurist, if you like to think about what is going to happen 10 years from now, 5 years from now, with all this new technology, where are things going, and you'd like to be part of that conversation, jump on Patreon. You'll see all the information linked below. Follow me on Twitter. And yeah, it's been great talking to you.